What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by WynnBet. This is the Week 5 college football betting recap and Week 6 look ahead. I'm Stuckey, and with me, as always, is Collin Wilson. A little somber today, but at least it was painless.
I can't be a part of social media during Razorback games because I spend my entire week trying to be objective with my write-ups. If I need to go contrarian on my alumni. And then when game day actually gets here, and I think everybody understands that, but when game day actually gets here, my 88-year-old grandmother's in the house. My family's in the house. My friends are in the house. And when Arkansas takes a loss, you'd think a member of the family died. And so when you get shut out, like I just couldn't be a part of social for like 3 or 4 hours. Now, it turns out I veered off to my media room to go watch the rest of the football game, see Cincinnati like have this big comeback in the betting for the day for me, right? And my grandmother's calling into the voicemails. And I come downstairs and I hear grandma's called into the voicemail. What are you saying? Grandma called into the voicemails. I said, oh shit, this is going to be a spicy week of voicemails.
Your grandma called. I listened to the first. That was your grandma?
My grandmother called the voicemails. And
I listened to the first 30 seconds and there's a lot of Iowa fans. So I stopped. Then I was like, all right, this is a surprise. So I can't wait to hear this.
And let's get something straight. Like my wife is from Iowa. And I know we have a lot of guys on staff at Iowa at the Action Network, but my wife is from Iowa. So every time there was a turnover, every time Talia Tagovailoa threw an interception, she sat 5 feet behind me and went, I can't, this Iowa stuff is out of control. I can't wait to hear these voicemails. We're going to get torn up.
What's that helmet right behind your head right there?
She bought it. This isn't even mine.
He's got obviously no one can see this. Collin's an Iowa helmet.
And more family history. My grandmother, my 88-year-old grandmother that's on the voicemails, she married and had 4 kids. My mom up in Iowa, up in Fort Dodge, Iowa, got a divorce in like 73, came back down to Arkansas and hates the state of Iowa, which is why I think she used the term corn-fed. So anyways, there's so much Iowa, Arkansas going on, and the voicemails are going to be great.
By the way, what did you think what was your ultimate takeaway from that game? Like, was it, for me, it was, wow, Georgia is so good and legit. And obviously it was a tough environment. And it felt, once that fourth down, they didn't get that stop on fourth down, that missed tackle. I saw the writing on the wall. And 14-0, you just didn't want Arkansas playing from behind in that environment with their offense. And they get the 4th and 1. It's 14-0. And look, all the credit in the world to Georgia. They were awesome. But getting that big of a hole that early, it was we knew it was going to be a long day, right?
Listen, Georgia is tied with Alabama in PR. No other team.
I have them ahead of them.
Yeah. No other team in college football is within 9.5 points of these two. And I think there's something that I need for myself as a handicapper to step back from the numbers. And I said it on the podcast last week. If Arkansas tries to go anything east to west, the talent and the speed and the Georgia defense will tear down anything we try to go east to west. The only successful plays we had was trying to run it over a guard or trying to run it over, Stromberg at center. That's it. Other than that, we had more penalty yards than rushing yards. Georgia absolutely 100% should be priced the way they are in the national championship futures. This is, I mean, we said they'd be the national championship game. I give them all the credit in the world. Arkansas, we don't have the guys. We don't have the dudes. And, I don't know if we're ever going to
especially if you're down 14-0 off the bat on the road there. I mean, it's tough.
Well, Pittman knew.
Tough ask.
Pittman knew, right? We got to get points on the board. We're not going to have any chance to get points on the board. I don't blame him for trying that chip shot, but, we just don't have the dudes. And Georgia has when you're lining up 7 300-pounders on the offensive line to get a yard or two, who's stopping that? Alabama's defense, no one's stopping that.
Yeah, all the credit in the world to Georgia. If you laid it with Georgia, sometimes people are always like, everyone is on. Sometimes those games hit, like everyone is on this side. More often than not, especially in the NFL, they don't. But it's 60, 65%. Sometimes you got to take a stance and you say, I'm riding with Joe Public, and everyone seemed to have an Arkansas ticket. I mean, we had plus 18.5. It closed 15. It just didn't matter. So if you did bet Georgia, good for you. It was a great bet. And it felt inevitable right off the jump. Bet regret. I'll get into it right now. Bet regret. Brocktober. Iowa State is back. At this rate, they could win the national title. Who knows? You might have a four-loss team in the college football playoff. Brocktober is here. If there's ever if in the future there's a meteor that lands somewhere and hurts nobody, and just there's no sunlight for a month, right? And we have to start college football on October 1st. Iowa State futures all day. But yeah, Brocktober is back. Good call.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I mean, it was a huge number and it was above the projection, but you just lay it and you don't forget it. And that first half of that too was a joke. Even at 28-0, Kansas throwing end zone INTs. Iowa State has the week off right now as it sits. Iowa State at Kansas State is projected at Iowa State -5 on the road in Manhattan. I don't care. We're going to be laying it on the Cyclones.
Best call, worst call. I did my bet regret, which is Brocktober. Worst call is I laid 14.5 with Vanderbilt. You called me crazy. I was crazy. I'll never live it down. I'll never, ever live it down. Best call, Nevada.
Gave out the bad beat hotline right after you gave it out too. I said, what are you doing? Here's the bad.
Unbelievable, man. My best calls, Nevada and Arizona State. Guess what? Arizona State's the third.
Bet regret. I can't remember what I said on the pod about them, but I know that we had our pre-production meeting for Big Bets on Campus. I said I want Georgia Southern to lead off the money line parlay, and I took them out last minute and put in UTEP, which won. Miner Nation, thank you very much for helping out the show.
Once I saw Georgia Southern win, I was like, oh no, UTEP's going to lose now.
Yeah, I know. I was so upset and with myself for even saying on the pod. I remember saying on the pod, they'll be running the triple forever and Arkansas State can't cover it. And what'd they score?
How did they score 60 though?
60? Are you kidding me?
60, 59-33. They had, if you look at the box or just glance at it, they both had 540 yards. Georgia Southern only had 20 first downs. They ran for over 500 yards. They only had 20. They were just breaking long runs. Like, it was amazing box score to look at.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. I guess Chad Lunsford was holding down the triple. I'm not sure, but that is certainly the bet regret.
Yeah, Georgia Southern. They just go look at the box score. It's amazing box score. Ransom, their quarterbacks went a combined 3 of 13 for 37 yards, and they won 59-33. I guess you have to talk about some of the like clearly. I guess the theme going in of the weekend for me was like, all right, these teams. It's a very difficult college football season for me to handicap because trying to figure out what these priors are worth. You just have some teams that out of nowhere are not good, and then you have some teams that out of nowhere look great, like Bowling Green. Like where did this come from, by the way? So it's just trying to figure out the priors. Some of the teams that I thought were vulnerable at the top proved to be vulnerable. I think for me, it was okay. Alabama and Georgia have separated themselves. Who are the other two teams that are going to step up and fill those other college football playoff spots? Because look, Georgia now that's a big win. That's a great win against Arkansas. They already beat Clemson, which now is looking shakier, but they beat Clemson on a neutral. That Arkansas win, it's very difficult for me to envision either Alabama or Georgia not being in the college football playoff, right? Both of them are probably going to be there. Florida goes down to Kentucky. Maybe it's Kentucky. What is it? We go to Kentucky in the college football playoff we can dream about that until they go to Athens in 2 weeks. But if you had to say right now, who are the other two teams that are going in there? Is it Cincy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, if you went from a power rating perspective, no one's going to like this, but it's going to be Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Penn State. Can I throw Oklahoma, who I've got a number 5 in there? Not really. Can I throw Cincinnati up in there? That is going to be the product of Ohio State and Penn State knocking each other off. That's going to be the debate. Is Cincinnati going to be above the Penn State, Ohio State? And then after that, you've got all these outliers, right? These one-loss teams between Texas. Iowa's going to get into this conversation. And, There's a lot of one-loss teams out there that actually can rise up. I mean, Texas is one of those. Auburn's one loss is a respectable loss on the road to Penn State. I mean, there are, and they're going to play Alabama, but yes, there are paths for Cincinnati to get into this, because right now the top 4 come from 2 conferences, and those teams are slated to play each other. So yeah, by the Cincinnati just needs to sweep the schedule and they're in.
By the way, let me give a shout out to, by the way, the third best team in the country is Arizona State. But let me give a shout out to BYU. I think BYU has been the most impressive team in the country to me, based on my preseason expectations in a year where everyone has so much returning production, right? We've seen Notre Dame struggle. Notre Dame, they were started 4-0, but we've seen them struggle. Them and BYU were the 2 teams with the least amount of returning production, and it was by a wide margin, right? You don't have a lot of these 6-year seniors coming back to BYU for a reason. They a lot of they're like 24, 25. They have families. Like, I don't need to come back for another year of college football. This is a team that lost 5 starters to the NFL, and they're every other week they have a new quarterback in there. Mm-hmm. And Stuckey talked about the depth of this team, but you hear that a lot about. But he was right, and BYU has been extremely impressive. Have to give them a shout out because they cover again against Utah State.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way: with Zach Wilson on BYU last year in the offseason, my projections took him down 8 points because of returning production, turnover with just the entire roster, one of the worst from a transfer portal and returning production standpoint. They lost 8 points in the offseason. Their power rating right now, exact same what it was at the finish of last year's season with Zach Wilson. That's how great they've been.
Yep. Yeah, they've been awesome. So credit to BYU. What other results did we not get to?
Oregon,
Stanford. Woo! Stanford and the round robin getting there. And by the way, if you had the under, congrats. It still hit in double overtime when Stanford won 31-24. Huge win on the farm. And is the Pac-12? I mean, I think Arizona State's the best team. I thought they lost to BYU. The Pac-12 is now essentially eliminated from playoff contention again. So Stanford, impressive win. Thoughts there?
Well, I mean, there's going to be people out there that are going to say Oregon is going to be a good enough team, especially with, what happened earlier this season, that they're going to, have a good enough resume to get in. But no team out of this is going to come out of this conference with just one loss, or in my opinion. I mean, I know that there are candidates to win this Pac-12 championship with one loss, but I still don't think you're going to make it in over an undefeated.
Oregon's losing in 2 weeks at UCLA anyway.
So yeah, and I mean, I look at the box score with Oregon. It's just, one explosive drive out of 12 offensive possessions, just standard, national average and 2+ first downs. Success rate on passing plays was below national average. Standard downs were okay. And, they were a little bit explosive in passing downs, but they couldn't get any points on the board. Points per possession inside the 40 on every attempt. They averaged 3 points. That is well below 3.8 versus Stanford, which was 5.4, which means Stanford scored a touchdown almost every single time they got past the 40-yard line. There were holes in this Oregon secondary that I knew Stanford could expose. And I mean, I'm glad for our round robin, but I mean, it's really bad news for the Pac-12.
CATS, cats. By the way, Kentucky big win over Florida and sets up. I wish LSU would have won. Actually, no, I don't. But for the city, it still will be crazy here. Next weekend, you can get to Lexington. I don't know how many people are going to be at our bar at my house at this point, but it'll be awesome. It's Keeneland, LSU coming to town. And then Kentucky goes to Georgia, and then everyone will be on to college basketball season. But it'll be a fun weekend that people will pretend to care about college football. By the way, we have to give out a couple awards. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, leave a review. Reach out to our producer, Matt Mitchell, old boy Uncle Mitch on Twitter. Let's throw out some stuff to Tiemel, Tiemmel. He says, great job breaking down a big chunk of college action every episode. Love the bad beats. Collin and Group of 5 episodes. Keep up the good work and the winning bets. Yes, college football only feed now. Group of 5 guys crushing it. Would not let them on this feed if I didn't trust them. Did not anticipate anyone would be doing this well so far. Give them a listen. How about A. Farkas? I can't say enough great things about Stuckey Matt Mitchell in this pod. Oh, he also throws in Collin there. I have been listening to them for years and still get fired up whenever I hear Tusk playing. Not only have I made some money listening to these guys, but I always laugh and have fun listening and also learn so much about the deeper analytics and analysis. Must listen and must download the Action app to follow their picks. That's what it's all about, brother. And then the last one, we'll give it to None Josh. Must listen podcast, exquisite. Let me see it again. Must listen podcast, exquisite breakdown, blah, blah, blah. I'll save you the details. So Mitchell, throw them some gear. The reviews really help us out. Appreciate all of you listening, subscribing, and leaving reviews. All right, Collin, any other games you want to touch on or mention that we didn't talk about?
If I had a rant of the week, it'd be Steve Sarkisian lining up at the goal line and going for it when you could have kicked the field goal and had an 8-point lead over TCU, which, would have pushed. And I'm not going to question Steve Sarkisian's goal line strategy, but a lot of TCU bets lost. A lot of team total overs on Texas lost. That one was the worst. But no rant. I mean,
I got a rant. I got a rant for myself. I woke up in the morning for a second straight Saturday, and I looked myself in the eyes. Looking in the mirror. Sounds weird. I look myself in the eyes. But I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And I say, oh I just bet I have money on Graham Mertz at noon again. And I felt confident again for the second straight weekend. The next time I do that, I better start putting clown makeup on if I ever have money on Graham Mertz at noon. And I better never, ever feel confident about it. So that's my rant of the week is I'm a clown. All right. Leach, by the way. You are this love affair with Calzada over?
It's over. I mean, yeah, you want me to have a rant?
Thank you.
That guy's accuracy is beyond terrible. I've never seen somebody have such terrible accuracy on any pass. It doesn't matter where it is in the end zone. This Texas A&M team, I think, is progressively getting worse. The defense, for some reason, can't. How are you top 20 in passing success rate and letting Mississippi State have explosive passing plays, which is a dink and dunk offense? So that was
minus 14.5 next weekend, and at Texas A&M. That game I thought was going to be 7.5 preseason, 14.5. That's how bad Texas A&M has been, and we got to break that game down, and that's what we're going to spend the next couple of days doing before our Week 6 college football betting preview, which will come out late Thursday night. As of right now, I want 0.0 part of Texas A&M next weekend. Do you agree?
Oh, I'm not. I can't bet on. I'm done betting on these guys. Jimbo, somebody needs to be fired.
Burn that Texas A&M robe that you bought. All right. The only other game I think I wanted to mention was, I guess we have to give love to Wake Forest. Is Wake Forest going to win the ACC? Who's winning the ACC?
The way I have money on Wake Forest, it was 150-1. By the time a group that I know was attacking this all over Vegas and New Jersey, I finally got a piece at 80-1. So yeah, I am 100% into the Wake Forest boat.
All right, before we get out of here, let's go 3 and out. All right, first down here, we got to talk some Thursday night football. Be patient, everyone. There is Maction coming. Soon there will be Wednesday night football. But for now, we only have Thursday night football. But we have 2 games this weekend. Let me say that again. Well, we have 2 games this Thursday, which is nice. Coastal Carolina. By the way, where is our guy, the caller of the year? Triple C Dynasty. He hasn't called in. Ice Picks. Where are you? Miss you, man. Call in. You're 5-0. Coastal Carolina ranked 16th in the country at Arkansas State. Arkansas State just got done a whirlwind tour of the country. 3 straight road games. Gave up 60 points to Georgia Southern. Scary before you're about to play Coastal Carolina. Arkansas State at home. Short week after 3 straight road games. Oh, it's a tough spot here. Anything here?
I don't see how you're not playing Coastal Carolina, even if the projection is Coastal Carolina minus 21 here, and it's probably going to be higher. But there are so many things in the advanced numbers that are just unbelievable. discrepancies. I mean, for example, Coastal Carolina, number 1 in passing down success rate and explosiveness, 128th for Arkansas State. You want to get into middle 8, how the coaches are doing when there's 4 minutes left in the first half and 4 minutes in the start of the third quarter. Coastal Carolina is 2nd in the nation in point differential. Arkansas State's 129th. That's just flat out coaching. And then the biggest discrepancy, tackling grades. Coastal Carolina top 5 in the nation. Arkansas State bottom 10. I can't make a case for Arkansas State, especially when they rank dead last in finishing drives on defense. This is a coastal team total. It's going to be inflated. Everybody's going to be on it, but that's the only way you can play this.
And the other game on Thursday night is 4-1 Houston at Tulane, who's now 1-4. I cannot stand this Houston team because I came into the year so high on them, and I bet them against Texas Tech, and they were up 14 at the half and didn't do anything in the second half, and they've been great since. And they've just been blowing teams out, and I was like, all right, maybe this team isn't as good since that second half, and I downgraded them, and I shouldn't have. So they've been a tough nut to crack, but they're now 4-1. They beat Tulsa by 35. Extra day of preparation here. Anything? Houston at Tulane?
Yeah, I mean, Houston is the look here for me. This is a line that I project at about Tulane minus 2.5. And Houston is going to be the look. There's about 15% precip in the forecast for New Orleans, so I don't think the weather is going to be a big factor. But when you look at the advanced numbers up against each other, I think there's reasons to suggest that I would want to take an under, or I would want to take Houston getting some points here. Major advantages, top 30 for Houston, everything from the defensive splits, from success rate and explosiveness and standard downs and passing downs. This is a pass rush that's 11th in the nation, and Tulane right now is outside the top 100 in defense and protecting their quarterback. They're also 110th in line yards on offense. They can't get any push, but they still have that pace. They're the 10th fastest team in the nation. That means there's going to be extra possessions for Houston, who's a very slow offense. Another big tackling misgrade here. Houston's top 30 in tackling. Tulane is 120th. More importantly, Tulane bottom 10 in defense and allowing points on the board when teams cross the 40-yard line. So for me, it's a Houston play, probably an underplay because they'll be able to dictate the pace.
Good handicap there. Make sure you check out actionnetwork.com and the Action Network app for breakdowns on both of those games later this week. We will cover Friday night lights and the entire college football card on Saturday, our betting preview later this week. All right, moving on to second down. Any early looks for next weekend? I'll throw one out here. The Michigan State charade, mirage, whatever you want to call it, ends next weekend at Rutgers. I cannot wait to bet Rutgers at noon on Big Ten Network. Anything you're eyeing for next weekend?
Yeah, as we're recording this on Sunday morning, 16.5 just hit for Auburn against Georgia. That number should be 11. I could see a reason. Oh,
next season, baby.
I could see a reason why you would make Georgia minus 14, but 16.5 is way too much. And I am, as we are recording, going to get some money pushed across the counter on Auburn 16.5.
What is in full effect?
Bo Nix season at home at Jordan Hare and crying War Eagle all night. Yeah, something like that.
This is an Auburn podcast. Always has been, always will be. All right, and then before we get out of here, third down. You're due. You're due here. Last 2 weeks. I'm glad the program is back. You usually nail Arkansas. I am rolling with you. Maybe you don't have a take yet, but early thoughts. Arkansas Ole Miss next week.
Well, Arkansas is going to try. I mean, these are two teams that, got blown away. And so we're going to see how they're both going to respond. There are offensive advantages for both teams. Arkansas is going to be able to establish the rush. Ole Miss is 91st in rushing success rate on defense. Line yards, they're 70th. So Arkansas is going to be able to dictate pace and run the ball. Ole Miss, on the other hand, is going to continue to make this a lightning round on offense. And there are reasons to think that they're going to have a ton of success with Matt Corral. And I think the offense is going to get back on pace. I think an over for me. I don't know how I have this projected around like 55 on a total, But I think an over for me is the best way to play this because both teams are going to be able to score when they get into the red zone. Both teams are going to be able to dictate what they want to do on offense.
All right, make sure we'll talk more about that game. Should be a fun game at the minimum. We have a lot of exciting games next weekend. This slate was very enjoyable. Next weekend slate also very enjoyable. We're starting to kind of get enough data to work with. This is our time to shine at this point in the year. And we're seeing the teams who are frauds, and we're seeing some cream rise to the top. And we're seeing that Clemson still stinks. So thanks for listening. As always, Collin, thanks for joining me. Voicemails are better this week, people. Call us out in our bad takes. Don't forget about the voicemail line, 959 bad beat. Cry, whine, scream, yell, anything you need to get out. You just want a therapy session? I call sometimes, talk to our producer, Mitchell, and give it a call. It's always open. But thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Leave a review. Please, it really helps us out. We'll send you some gear most likely. And it's time for us to go find some winners. We'll catch y'all later in the week. Cheers.
Peace out.